She said, "Stop acting like we're married. You have no say over where I go." She said, "Stop acting like we're married. You have no say over where I go or who I'm with." Everyone laughed. I just smiled and stayed quiet. But when she came back from her weekend, her key didn't work, and the neighbor told her exactly why. My girlfriend Sophia and I have a fundamental disagreement about the nature of reality. I believe that if you live in someone's house, eat their food, and use their Wi-Fi, you're in a partnership relationship. Sophia believes she's a celestial body, and I'm a small, insignificant planet trapped in her gravitational pull. We've been together for 2 years, and for the past 6 months, she's been living in my house. My name is on the mortgage, my name is on the utility bills, and my name is on the little plaque by the door that says Garcias, which she bought without asking me, and now seems tremendously optimistic. I'm a pretty quiet guy. I like my peaceful life. I work from home as a graphic designer. I have a couple good friends, and my idea of a wild Friday night is ordering some tacos al pastor. Sophia isn't like that. Her life is a performance, and her audience is her 3 best friends, a Greek chorus of cackles that I privately refer to as the Harpies. Their names are Valeria, Camila, and whatever the third one is called. Let's call her Renata. The issue in question arose last weekend. I was making dinner, and Sophia strutted into the kitchen with her phone glued to her ear, already dressed to go out. She was in the middle of a loud, one-sided conversation with the Harpies. "Oh, obviously. Yes, I'm totally in," she said into the phone. "A weekend away is exactly what I need." "No, he's not coming. Don't be ridiculous." She hung up and looked at me beaming. "Good news. The girls and I are going to Valle de Bravo for the weekend. We leave tomorrow." It was the first I'd heard of it. "Oh, cool," I said, stirring the pasta sauce. "Sounds good. What's the plan there?" It was a simple logistical question, a question that a normal person in a normal relationship might ask. Sophia, however, looked at me like I'd just asked her to explain quantum physics in ancient Greek. She let out a short, sharp laugh and turned to her friend Valeria, who had just walked through the door. "Can you believe this?" Sophia said, rolling her eyes. "He wants to know where I'm going." Valeria snorted, looking me up and down like I was a piece of furniture she was considering throwing away. Sophia then turned to me, put her hands on her hips, and delivered the phrase that would echo through the halls of history, or at least through my immediate future. "Stop acting like we're married. You have no say over where I go or who I'm with." The Harpies, who had all gathered in my kitchen by then, burst into laughter. It was a symphony of mockery. They really thought this was the height of comedy. A man in his own house being told he had no right to ask a simple question about his live-in girlfriend's plans. Hilarious. I stood there, holding a wooden spoon with pasta sauce dripping onto the floor, and I didn't get angry. I didn't argue. A strange calm washed over me. The part of my brain that was trying to make this relationship work simply packed its tiny suitcases, put on a little hat, and quietly left the building. I looked at her smug, smiling face and just smiled back. A big, friendly, completely empty smile. "You know what?" I said, my voice full of cheerful agreement. "You're absolutely right. My mistake." They all laughed again, thinking I was simply backing down. Sophia gave me a condescending pat on the cheek, and then they all left the house heading to some pre-weekend cocktail hour. I stood in the kitchen for a long moment, a silence broken only by the bubbling of the pasta sauce. "Well," I said to myself as a new, much more interesting plan began to form. "We're not married. I have no say." Got it. The weekend was going to be fun after all, just not for her. Update 1. The moment Sophia's car, presumably full of 5 different types of glitter and a case of tequila, disappeared down the street Friday afternoon, I sprang into action. My first move wasn't packing or cleaning. It was a mission of strategic importance. I went to the house next door to Dona Carmen's. Dona Carmen is an 80-year-old widow with a sweet smile, a prize-winning rose garden, and a surveillance network that would make the CIA jealous. Nothing happens on our street without her knowing about it. I brought her a slice of the cornbread she likes and sat with her on her porch. "Dona Carmen," I said after we discussed the weather and the moral failings of the neighborhood squirrels, "I have a small situation and I need your help. It involves a bit of theater." Her eyes lit up. That woman loves drama more than her roses. I explained what had happened. I told her Sophia's exact words. "Stop acting like we're married." I didn't need to embellish. The unvarnished truth was condemning enough. By the time I finished, Dona Carmen was patting my hand with a look of righteous fury on her face. "What a shameless little girl," she declared. "Don't worry, Tomas, leave it to me. What's my dialogue?" I gave her a simple script. When Sophia inevitably returned to find herself locked out, she should act confused and deliver some key pieces of information. Dona Carmen took on the task with the enthusiasm of a Broadway veteran preparing for opening night. With my accomplice secured, I returned home to begin what I called Operation Bachelor Pad Resurrection. My house for the past 6 months had been a sea of beige pillows, small useless bowls that that contained nothing, an art that looked like a printer had run out of ink halfway through the job. It was time to reclaim my territory. I didn't just pack Sophia's things, I cataloged them. I got a bunch of boxes and a thick black marker. The first box was labeled daily clothes. The second, fancy clothes for fancy outings I wasn't invited to. The third, my personal favorite, sparkly magic dresses that shed glitter on everything I own. Her 37 pairs of identical-looking heels went into a box marked a podiatrist's nightmare. Her mountain of makeup and skincare products was packed into boxes labeled face paint and various potions. By Saturday morning, every trace of her physical existence was in boxes. I hired some movers from an app, and we loaded everything into a 3x 1.5M storage unit. I paid for a month, a generous non-marital gesture, I thought. With the house cleared of her belongings, the real fun began. I went shopping. I rolled up the beige rug and replaced it with an artificial turf carpet that looked like a soccer field. I sold her sterile white couch online and bought a gigantic black leather recliner with approximately 16 cup holders. Her sad, minimalist coffee table was replaced by a vintage pinball machine I found on Mercado Libre. It didn't work, but it lit up, and that's what mattered. The bedroom was next. I took down that weird macrame thing she'd hung over the bed and replaced it with a framed poster of a jaguar in the jungle, Lacandona. It felt right. My final and most brilliant move happened Saturday afternoon. I went to the local animal shelter just to look. An hour later, I came home with a 55 kilograms St. Bernard puppy named Bruno. Bruno wasn't a small dog. He was an adorable, drooling, furry wrecking ball. He immediately claimed the new leather couch as his and fell asleep, snoring like a lumberjack. The house was transformed. It was no longer a showroom for a sad, beige life. It was a fortress of glorious, shameless bachelorhood. I spent the rest of the weekend playing fetch with Bruno, drinking beer from the bottle in my own living room, and changing all the passwords. The new Wi-Fi network was called Get Your Own Wi-Fi, and the password was Not Married LOL. Sunday night, I sat on my 16-cup holder couch with Bruno's giant head in my lap and waited. The storm was coming. For the first time in a long time, I felt completely and absolutely prepared. Update 2. Sunday night around 9 p.m., my video doorbell sent a notification to my phone. There she was. Sophia, looking tanned from her weekend in Valle de Bravo, approached my front door humming. The comedy began almost immediately. She tried her key. It slid into the lock but wouldn't turn. The new deadbolt I'd installed that morning was doing its job. She jiggled it with an expression of mild annoyance on her face. She tried again, and she let out a sigh of exasperation and started pounding on the door. From the couch, Bruno lifted his enormous head, let out a deep, rumbling woof, and went back to sleep. Sophia started calling my phone. I watched it vibrate on the pinball machine. I took a peaceful sip of my beer and hit decline. She called again. Decline. This cycle repeated 5 times. The pounding on the door got louder. Tomas, open the door. What's wrong with you? My key isn't working. I remained silent. This was all part of the show. After another 5 minutes of increasingly frantic pounding, she seemed to give up. The doorbell camera showed her pacing around the porch, running her hands through her hair. And then, right on cue, a porch light flickered on next door. It was Donna Carmen in her robe, holding a watering can. Let the show begin. Oh, Sophia, dear, it's you. Donna Carmen called out with a voice that was a perfect mix of surprise and neighborly concern. Donna Carmen, thank God, Sophia said, running to the edge of my porch. I can't get in. My key isn't working. Is Tomas home? I can see the lights are on. Oh, Tomas is home, Donna Carmen said, nodding wisely. He's had a wonderful weekend. A real transformation. Transformation? What are you talking about? Well, he told me the good news, Donna Carmen said, leaning on her railing in a conspiratorial tone. He said you're not married. He said he has no say in anything you do, so he decided to celebrate his new freedom. He redecorated the whole house. It's a man's home now, he said. Very masculine. Sophia stared with her mouth open. And the best part, Donna Carmen continued, barely containing her glee, he got a dog. A big, beautiful boy named Bruno. He said he wanted a companion who would be loyal and wouldn't talk back. Isn't that adorable? The expression on Sophia's face was a masterpiece of disbelief and horror. She slowly turned and looked through my living room window. From my position on the couch, I waved at the glass. Her eyes widened as she took in the scene. The soccer field carpet, the pinball machine, and the giant St. Bernard snoring in his spot on the new couch. She let out a sound that was between a scream and a sob. She pulled out her phone and started texting me. My phone lit up with an amount of furious all-caps messages worthy of a novel. That's when I decided to respond. I sent her a single, simple text message. You said to stop acting like we're married. You said I have no say. I agree. This is my house, and you have no say over how I live in it. Since we're not married, I've returned your non-marital property to a safe location. The address is 123 Insurgentes Street, Storage Unit 42. The code is 1234. You have 1 month. Have a great life. Then I blocked her number. The doorbell camera showed her reading the text. She looked at her phone. She looked at the window. She looked back at her phone. Then she let out a scream of pure, undiluted rage and threw her phone into my lawn. It was a truly spectacular meltdown. She ranted and raved for another 10 minutes before Camila the harpy arrived to pick her up. The next day, the expected social media media campaign began. Vague posts about being betrayed, about men who can't handle a strong, independent woman. It was pathetic, but I had one more card to play. Final update. The social media drama was predictable, but also incredibly boring. Sophia and the Harpies posted stories with sad music, talking about the importance of knowing your worth and eliminating toxic energy. It was all so generic, it was almost funny. They were trying to paint me as a villain, but they were using a paint by numbers kit. I let them carry on like that for about 2 days, and I decided to provide some much-needed context. I didn't engage with them directly. Instead, I made a post on my own private social media page, visible only to our mutual friends. It was a photo album. The first photo was of my living room from a month ago, the sad beige couch, the useless bowls, the general aura of a dentist's waiting room. The caption said before. The second photo was of my living room now, the glorious leather recliner, the soccer field carpet, the shining pinball machine, and Bruno the Saint Bernard lying there looking majestic. The caption said after. The last photo was a selfie of me and Bruno on the couch. We both looked incredibly happy. The caption was simple. Decided to redecorate based on my new marital status. I was informed I'm not married and have no say in things, so I'm embracing my freedom. Bachelor pad life. Dog is my co-pilot. No say, no stay. The post was a nuclear bomb. The pure, absolute pettiness of it, combined with the undeniable cuteness of Bruno, was a winning combination. My friends found it hilarious. The story with proper context spread like wildfire. People who had initially offered sympathy to Sophia now saw the full picture. The narrative was no longer psycho boyfriend kicks out girlfriend. It was girlfriend tells boyfriend their relationship is a joke, surprised when he believes her. Sophia's friends went silent. It's hard to maintain a victim narrative when the villain is posting adorable photos with his giant dog. The consequences for Sophia were harsh. She stayed with Valeria, but apparently that lasted less than a week. I heard Valeria got tired of Sophia complaining and not contributing to rent. She ended up having to move back in with her parents in Toluca. She tried to sue me. I received a letter from a law firm demanding access to the house to recover her wrongfully withheld property and demanding compensation for damages for leaving her on the street. My lawyer responded with a copy of my house deed, a copy of the lease that had only my name on it, and a polite question about whether Sophia would be returning the money for 6 months of rent, utilities, and food she consumed while living in my house as an unmarried person with no obligations. We never heard from her lawyer again. The funniest part of this whole ordeal happened about a month ago. I was at the dog park with Bruno. He was happily chasing a tennis ball, and I was talking to another dog owner. A woman approached me hesitantly. It was Renata, the third harpy. She looked incredibly uncomfortable. "Hey, Tomas," she said. "Look, I just wanted to say I'm sorry about that night at your house. We crossed the line." I just shrugged. Sophia said what she said. I just took her at her word. "Yeah, I know," she said, shaking her head. "She's very intense. She called me last week complaining that her parents are making her get a job. She said it was all your fault for ruining her life." She paused and then looked at Bruno, who was now trying to fit 3 tennis balls in his mouth at once. "Honestly, it looks like you're doing really well." She was right. I am doing really well. The house is no longer a beige prison. It's my home. The pinball machine still doesn't work, but it's a great conversation starter. And Bruno is the best roommate I've ever had. He's loyal, he's fun, and he never complains about my cooking. I learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a grand, complicated plan. It's simply listening to what people say and believing them. Sophia told me exactly who she was and what our relationship meant to her. I simply decided to agree with her. She said I had no say, and now I really don't have a say in her life, and she doesn't have one in mine. And that, combined with a giant, drooling dog, is a pretty happy ending.